Hello to you ladies and gentlemen and welcome to Elin, a game that is not always about, fighting monsters in a deep dark dungeons, fighting for your life. Sometimes it's just about enjoying the vibe, breathing it in. So as we sort of do it, let's get changed, hop into a hot spring. While we're at it, why not grab a little egg and, put it right next to us and meditate on what's truly important in life. Wouldn't it be nice to just, maybe sit like this and earn money? I mean, this is the topic of today's video after all, so let's talk about that. Oh god, it just dawned on me like how dumb this intro was, but you know what, let's roll with it. So please, enjoy your hot spring eggs, enjoy Harmony of Soul buff from the hot spring, and let's delve into the topic of home ranking, because this is precisely what we're gonna be talking about today. So what is it? Well, long story short, you can basically check the home ranking of the settlements you have in your journal under locations, and you can sort of witness, probably as you start the game, that it's quite low. The general idea is that this is a ranking of all sort of settlements, villages, hovels all across the land by wealth to determine which one is sort of the best. But don't worry, you don't have to be the best in order to get some income, because this is precisely why we're doing it. As you sort of increases your ranks, you get more and more income every month just by being, higher on the rankings. This is probably quite similar to the Adventurous ranking, which is also in the game. I haven't quite experienced it yet, but it probably has more to do with combat than, just developing your base, which is the sort of a thing related to home ranking. So, as I was sort of preparing this topic today, I thought that I would join it together with tourism and basically the land deeds and how to choose the land. As I was doing it, I quite realized that tourism and home ranking are very different topics, as a matter of fact. I mean, they are related in some cases, but not in all of them. I still want to talk a little bit, though, about land deeds. So as we sort of have a look at our settlements that we already own, you can sort of see that all of them have those land traits. In case of Meadows and Vernice, those traits are usually set, right? But they are unique to every single location. So as you choose the new land you want to settle on, you can actually check them by just looking in this top left corner here, right? So this one is plain, right? This implies what biome it is, and it has two additional traits, right? Some of them can sound very esoteric yet again, so ancient ruin and weird bird, right? What does that mean? So don't worry, I will give you a link to the wiki, basically explaining what all of them do. But generally they relate to either sort of a tourism value, monsters spawning, some additional special resources that can be sort of achieved from the area. So like in case of Vernice is coal, right? But there is more, like let's say on shores you can usually get pearls, let's say. So there is a lot of sort of additional things to that. So what I'm trying to say, if you do manage to acquire one of those land deeds that are quite expensive, do be careful what land you choose, because it's not only about basically how it looks, but it's also about those traits, right? So as I explained this, let's get into one other of my saves that sort of shows how does sort of wealth of the land function, right? So as we have this land, let's have a look. And as you can see, with a little help of our telescope, this land is quite devoid of anything that could increase its value, right? The only thing actually that is somewhat valuable is this home board, right? And as you can see, we are very low on the ranking, but we have already 400 of value. And this is because this home board is actually worth 400, right? So as we know this, you probably can sort of infer that more items you put on the land, the higher value, you will get a higher value. And this is somewhat true, but it is a little bit more complex than that. Basically, only initially at least, 5 items are being counted towards the overall value of the land, right? So as you see, we're just gonna put these down, and you see the value here increased, right? But now let's put something not very valuable, right? The stupid statue of a yeek that I just made, right? Let's put it down, and as you can see, the value is 1675. When we take it away, the value is still 1675. This is because only the highest value items you place down count towards the overall value, right? So this basically implies that you want to put quite expensive items, right? And basically just make them as expensive as possible in order to increase your rank. And this is true. There is also another way that you can increase the amount of items being valued, and you do it through the legacy, right? This is sort of a skill of a land that is basically unlocked straight away, and you can invest your golden bars in order to increase this sort of skill. A technology to increase the number of heirlooms assessed towards the value of the land. So I think that it basically just increases it every single time you invest. It allows additional item to be basically assessed towards the overall value, right? So if you increase it by 1 level, now it's gonna be 6 items that will basically add towards the whole value of the land, right? So it's just as simple as that. So how would we go around increasing this value even more? Well, we want to put down some items that are actually quite expensive, right? So in here I have this exquisite treasure chest, right? If we grab it and put it down, as you can see, the value of the land already increased quite significantly. But there is more than 5 items, of course, and this means that one of the items that is already lying down is not being accounted for, and this is most likely the pig, because it doesn't look very valuable, right? Those statues are made out of quartz sand, nothing very special, right? So as you can see, now we took the pig away, the value did not change, because only 5 items are being counted towards it, right? This value, this chest is quite expensive, well, because, as you can see, it's not only exquisite chests, right? Because you can sometimes encounter just a treasure chest, right? But sometimes they have like additional prefix to them, right? Sometimes they are made out of interesting things, like pearls. And sometimes the things that are made of, as we sort of explained in the previous video, would have this trait, like unusual, that increases their price, right? So basically, one way to increase the overall value of your land is to put expensive items made of expensive materials that have this good traits to them and good prefixes, right? For instance, in here, right? Because I'm not a good sculptor, I managed to create a stupid statue of Eek, right? If I only, let's say, invest into the skill of sculpting, I don't even have it, I think, yes. No, sculpture, I do have it. I did buy it just before this. But yeah, the skill is quite low, right? First, obviously you need to unlock this skill with a trainer, and only then when you start to make sculptures, your sculpture skill increases, right? But as you sort of do it, you can increase the skill obviously quite significantly, and then, you know, you might not get a stupid statue of a Eek, you may get something like a godly statue of a Eek, right? And even though they will be made from the same terrible material, right, like quartz, right, the value will actually be higher because it will be a godly statue of Eek, right? So there is that. I know it's a shocker, but you know, if you make the same statue out of gold, it's gonna be worth much more. So that's sort of one of the items you might want to put down in order to increase the general value of the land, right? So basically with this technique, you know, you can sort of start building like a nice amount of good quality furniture and increase very slowly the wealth of your land. But don't worry, there is a better way of doing it, like always. So let's get into one other save of mine. This method, it is, you know, a bit exploity, but you know, it does take quite an investment in order to be utilized. Sometimes when you sort of walk through the wilds, you can encounter a tile with like randomly generated some interesting items. And in this case, I managed to encounter this statue of Earth, right, made entirely out of gold. And as you can imagine, it is quite expensive, right? So we definitely want this in our base. How people used to do it, a few updates before, you could take it, die with it, and basically your body would be transported back to your base, right? And this is sort of like one of the ways of how to get very expensive and heavy items to your base. Of course, you can, you know, just do lots of weightlifting and eventually maybe you will be able to like haul it back to your base, but there is a better way, right? And this is basically with utilization of those land deeds. So as you can imagine, we can claim this land, and now, as we claimed it, we can, let's say, check the value of the land. And as you can imagine, because, it has a golden statue, it is already quite valuable. It is actually much more valuable than Bernice and Meadow, right? Even combined. So this statue is, quite something. So a thing that will probably never be patched out, because, I think it makes sense, is that if you find a land like this, you can build the entire village around this, basically, because it is such a valuable find, let's say, right? So this will be like one of the ways, but a thing that could be patched out, but I would love for it to just stay, as always, would be to basically just, put your delivery box, take the statue, and just place it right there. And guess what? It's gonna be delivered to our other base now, right? So, this is sort of a way of how you can sort of take the items away from the wild and just, get something extremely valuable back to your base. You may think to yourself, oh wow, well, this is not very useful because, first of all, it is extremely expensive. The land deed, as I sort of mentioned, it's like 100,000 orens, right? So it is quite a mid-game item. And not only you lose it just to acquire some sort of statue, like this is not a great way. Well, the thing about this is that as soon as you sort of like start buying those land deeds, right, you can actually abandon the land, right? You cannot do it straight away, because you do need to be at least a month in one of the places in order to be able to utilize this function. But as you do it, the land deed will return to you, and you can claim another land. So basically what I'm trying to say is that you can get your land deed back, find one of those randomly generated areas with another interesting thing, claim it, and yet again send those items back to your base. So this is sort of like one of the interesting ways I found to increase the value of your land. But also there is a way that is basically just makes much more sense and it's much easier. So let's go to Palmia just to illustrate what I'm saying. So as we send this golden statue, let's get another expensive item. And hopefully we'll be able to find it today in the furniture shop. So you can basically just walk to any furniture shop and every now and then they would sell something expensive. So let's see, what do they have? Okay, they have this grand piano, right? It is quite expensive, as you can say. See, I don't even have enough money, so I just sell those books only for the purpose of the video, because I bought them in order to, well, with the golden bars. So normally I would never, buy any of the, well, sell them. So let's just grab it as furniture and throw it. There's also the way of how you can sort of move very heavy items to the delivery box, right? So, you will not be squished. Other than that, you can just like place them like 1 square by 1 square and like slowly but surely get to your delivery box. But you see, this piano now will be moved straight to our base. So now we got this accomplished. Let's go back to Meadows and see what happened. Okay, now we are here and we got our packages back to our base, right? So let's see what's in the first one, and that's our piano, right? Let's put it down and have a look here on the sort of like our little notification parts, like what's happening in the base right now. And as we did it, we got not only heard a little bit of a clap right in the background, but also we can see that the highest ranking of your home has been updated, right? This is because we placed this sort of item here, and it increased the value of our base. But this is not, the one we actually wanted to present to our visitors, and this is the one. So let's see what happens when we put this down. And bam! Just like that, 103rd place, right? And it is in our base. So that's sort of like one way of how we can increase the ranking. There is also a policy when you get items like this, right? A plan of legendary heirloom policy, right? An ordinance that increases appraisal value of the items ranked number 1 in the heirloom ranking. So in our case, it's gonna be just the statue, right? So let's read this and enact this. Let's get rid of the ones that we don't need and let's go for the legendary heirloom. And as you can see, our place on the ranking is already 999th, right? So, quite good, I'd say. But why is it good? Because now we got to our location, we can see that we earn 2,700 orens every single month just by having this base exist, right? And we can technically not only increase this number by getting even higher level on the rankings, but also we can sort of do it for any of our bases, right? Because we could also, let's say, do it for Vernice, right? We'll be abandoning though the fields very soon, so you know, not maybe in this specific case. And as you can also see, the place on the ranking got increased, right? One initial ways how I thought it could also work, right? You've probably seen this meme like, oh, it's not enough for me to succeed. It's also, you know, I also need to make sure that others fail. Unfortunately, from what I've seen at least, it doesn't seem to work like this, because I went to the truce grounds and I started to like destroy the statues there. But yeah, the ranking just stayed the same. So unfortunately, you cannot. I thought that, you know, you could maybe deprive them of some expensive items, and that's how you could get your place on the ranking, you know, a bit a bit higher. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like this. But you know, this is sort of like two at least ways of how you can increase your ranking, right? Either build some interesting things, right? Or just you know, get them from all across the land. I'm sure some weightlifters out there, you know, do quite good job by just weightlifting like statues like this without any worries. One of the ways I sort of found to both, you can sort of level up your carpentry a little bit. You know, you can have one of those foresteries here, right? Just grow some trees, right? And here it's mahogany logs and also palulu logs. And as you can see, the interesting thing about this, right? As I am a farmer and I know how to farm things, they level up, right? And as they level up, those traits here also level up, so the price is increased. So as we sort of are a farmer and we would sort of also do things with carpentry, right? We could probably eventually get some good, like let's say, round tables, right? And they will have quite high value, and we could maybe increase our home ranking through the things we craft ourselves, right? But this obviously takes a long, long time. So it might not be necessarily like the best way of achieving our passive income quickly. So let's go back to meadows and see whether anything would change. Actually, you know what? Just bear with me a moment as we sort of walk across the land. So the month will change. So you will see that, you know, the money actually comes our way. But yeah, at the very moment, enjoying the game quite a lot. There is just so many things. Like as I told you, like even 2 days ago, I thought that tourism and home ranking video could be done in the same sort of way. But now I sort of realize they're like very, very separate. Obviously, like some of those statues have those increased value of tourism, but you know, it is just separate enough for it to basically be just entirely different mechanic. But I do love that they are somewhat combined in a sense that, you know, one mechanic fits another, but it is actually different, right? So yeah, I was even surprised that the home ranking goes, you know, so in depth in this specific regard. Okay, so we are not yet just you know, on the end of the month when we will actually get the money, but as you can see, our shop is doing quite well. 17,000 this month, 15,000 last month, right? So you know, the passive income is okay, but I still feel like the shop it's always gonna be better, right? One thing I managed to neglect in the previous videos, and only now I sort of realized it, that as you sort of get your farming higher, those items will just be stronger, right? So the mushrooms here, because I'm a farmer at level 56, are already level 56, and because of this, the alcohol, as you can see in the top part of my screen, is already quite expensive, even though it's just like a very terrible mushroom ale, right? I think initially it was something like 16 orens, now it's like 50, 60 orens, you know? So it does increase quite dramatically. Also, another thing I probably want to mention to you, a lot of people seem to search for those tax boxes, like sell their hard-earned furniture tickets in order to get them, but you actually don't need the tax boxes at all. Two things you can utilize is the policy called transfer tax payment, right? A law that allows taxes to be directly debited from your bank deposit, right? And to top it off, you can use salary transfer, a law that allows home income to be directly transferred to your bank deposit, right? This basically allows that a passive income, let's say from home ranking, will be instantly delivered to the bank, and then from your bank deposit, the taxes will be deducted, which basically means that you never have to go to the city in order to pay your taxes, right? So you don't even need the box for taxes. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. Also, yeah, maybe one thing worth mentioning here. This is a gentleman that you can sort of talk to in regards to buying one of those land deeds, right? So as you see, quite an expensive item. He also sells one of those relocation deeds. This allows you essentially to go to any place in the map and place your base like right there. So let's maybe actually just do that so you know that it works. Let's buy 2 of them. I think it can be utilized in many sort of creative ways. For instance, like you don't need to go all this way to Palmia, right? I usually just use fast travel to pass time, but you can literally just put your bases next to each other, and you can also put like Vernice and Meadows right next to the city, right? And as you can see, this is, you know, my little Vernice here. This is my actual base that we all know from the previous videos, and now we don't have to go far to actually go to Massilia, right? So, and this can be acquired much faster because it only costs 20,000 orens. So yeah, there is that. I think that's everything I wanted to talk about today. So thank you very much for watching, guys. And as always, remember to read Palmia Times and obviously vote your what is your favorite food? Well, obviously it's pizza, right? So yeah, thanks and have a good one. See you next time.